Hello and welcome to our Sunderland preview. Before we get started, get in the comments, tell us what you want to know, talk to the guys, I'll read some of them out. We've got Joshy, we've got Jay and we've got Adam, and we're going to get started on Tuesday. Tuesday? We play Everton on Tuesday?
Yeah,
I picked the right day of the week? Yeah, I have. On Tuesday, we saw at Full-Time Devils the first real set of anger and worry and frustration and annoyance from fans online and at the ground, and we think perhaps people are starting to get frustrated with all these draws and with what Mourinho's doing. Adam, do you see that? Do you feel that? What do you think about that generally?
Andy went a bit mad, but he wasn't moaning about the manager. He was moaning about the players, and I think it's probably a bit of an overreaction. You had that gentleman that that said that he would never have given him the job. So I think he has never liked Mourinho, so he probably just used that as an opportunity to come out. I mean, I don't think anyone's really wants Mourinho out of the club at the moment. If they do, it's probably because they've never wanted him at United in the first place, because I think a lot of people can see that Jose Mourinho is making improvements at the club. It's just that those improvements haven't come as quick enough, or even some of the results that we should be getting anyway just haven't come. And as a result, we've dropped far behind in the table. Now, lucky for us, everyone around us keeps leaving the door open, but that just makes it so much more frustrating when every single week we're making the same mistakes. And I do think Jose Mourinho needs to take some of the criticism, because, I mean, before the West Bromwich Albion and before the Everton game, those draws at home, we were unlucky. We battered teams and we'd failed to take our chances. And you can understand Jose Mourinho couldn't be to blame for that. But the last two games, we weren't playing good enough. We didn't really change things up. We could have made subs earlier in some of those games. I mean, in the West Bromwich Albion game, Wayne Rooney warmed up on around the 70th minute. We could have used Matty Willett. I know these aren't first team players, but change things up. Sometimes I think the manager can make something happen with a little change or a little tinker here and there, and I don't think he has done that enough in the last two games. But I'm not getting worried about Jose Mourinho's position as United boss or the future of United under Jose. I think we are still going in the right direction despite the one or two mistakes he has made.
Okay, Joshy, aside from just Mourinho in, Mourinho out, because I think that's a bit silly to have that conversation, where do you stand on the growing frustration amongst fans? Do you see clear issues that need to be addressed, or is it luck? Although luck seems like a lazy excuse.
No, I think, look, I mean, the fans have a right to be frustrated. We've gone on this ridiculous unbeaten run, which has included, 10 draws. And then a lot of them 0-0s. We've not scored enough at home, and I think it's the fact that it's happening at home that sort of makes it a bit more frustrating, because you've got the whole swathes of fans coming out of Old Trafford. They come onto the channel and then they sort of voice their frustrations, and I think it's fine to be frustrated. I'm frustrated. I think most people are, because we do have the players. We've seen the potential that these players have got, and at times we've played some excellent football. I would say that after a while, you can't just keep putting it down to bad luck. And even before these two draws, even that whole stream of sort of home matches where we didn't score enough, I would say, look, the finishing just hasn't been good enough. And whether you lay the blame at the manager or at the players, it's, you can't really pinpoint it. And sometimes it is luck. For example, an instinctive header that Pogba did the other day, it went up onto the crossbar. You can't say that's a poor finish, because it sort of came at him at speed and he's flicked it and it's gone and hit the bar. But at the same time, over the course of the season, just like under Fergie, where we would say it's not lucky to win games regularly in the 91st minute or late in the game, that's not luck if you're constantly doing it. At the same time, I don't think it's unlucky that we're not finishing teams off, because I think it will come down to individual mistakes. It will come down to the finishing ability of the team. And in the last few games, and in other games earlier on the season, it comes down to the way the team is unable to break opposition down, and that comes from the manager. So it's a combination of things, and if you want to lay blame, there's no one specific person or a single thing that you can identify and say, oh, it's that thing. So, I mean, the single thing is we haven't been finishing and scoring enough goals, but I don't know exactly how or what we would do to improve that, other than buy better players. Do you see what I mean? So I think it's to do with the system in certain matches. In other matches, it might be a bit of luck, and in other matches, it's the players just not finishing properly.
Very reasonable, very diplomatic. It's a good job you're not an Arsenal fan, because they'd never have you on Arsenal Fan TV. Jay, you've listened to what the guys have to say. Where do you stand on all this?
I think I've made good points. I mean, the thing with Mourinho is, I remember driving home from the Hull game, listening to Talk Sport, and someone rang up saying he should go in the summer after the draw with Hull. And I had to pull my car over and ring up and just argue the toss, because I think you're always going to get that knee-jerk reaction after a poor result, where you will get one or two donuts who say, "Oh, get rid of the manager. He's not up to scratch." But the sad thing for me lately is, I saw it at the Everton game in particular. The atmosphere's changed at Old Trafford. It feels like the Van Gaal atmosphere. I'm not saying the football's like Van Gaal. I'm not saying I think Mourinho's not the right man for the job. I'm not saying any of that. But the crowd are getting on the players' backs. You can sense it. You know, a bad pass and everyone's screaming. There's a real sort of bad atmosphere there at the moment, which I haven't seen all season. I think it's gradually getting worse. And against Everton, you could really sense it. And I think that must filter down to the players, because, correct me if I'm wrong, I think our away record isn't that bad. I think it's more at home we've struggled. And I think sometimes you've got youngsters like Marcus Rashford. I know Jesse Lingard's not that young, but he's still quite young. And they struggle for a little bit of confidence at times, maybe even Martial, and they can sense that the crowd are getting on the back. I don't think it helps, especially as well, when the manager's got this fondness. I mean, I know Adam was saying about making substitutions. Sometimes I think Mourinho can be a bit giddy with his substitutions. I think it will look like we're getting there and we're going to score, and then he'll make two changes, and it upsets it a little bit. Sometimes I think he's got to be a little bit more savvy. Like, he has this habit of always taking Michael Carrick off when we're struggling. And I'm not sure that's always the best idea, because there's times when Michael Carrick is playing that through ball, he's picking out players, and then you take him off and it upsets it a little bit. So I think Mourinho ultimately is the man who's making the decision. So, yeah, you do have to point the finger at him. But I just think it's a culmination, like Joshy said, of all these things. And I know I'm going to sound really bitter here, and people are going to go, "Oh, you Reds, you mean?" But refereeing has been poor. I mean, you look at it the other night. Ibrahimovic goal stands, we win that game. 20 minutes to go, there's no doubt for me, we come back and we win it. And you think, oh, well, it evens itself out. I don't think it does. I've seen so much, and it sounds petty, but so much time wasted that goes on at Old Trafford.
From the first minute.
They're getting away with it. They're getting away with murder. And it's just upsetting the rhythm of the play when he just got this constant time wasted. You know, was it against Everton the other day? Ashley Williams throwing himself to the floor and there's nothing wrong with him. And then you end up with a drop ball that Morales goes on a run with, and they end up with a free kick. Little things like that, it doesn't help. So I think it is a culmination of things. I think there is a bit of a backlash for referees now, where under Fergie they got all this stick, and now they're sort of getting their own back a little bit. Right. But yeah, finishing has to be better. I know you're right about there's a little bit of luck involved in it, but for me, certain players, I mean, I think, Juan Mata's is our second top scorer with how many goals? Is it 6 league goals or something?
Yeah, he's our most subbed player as well.
Exactly, that's not good enough. You know, I love Marcus Rashford, but he should be getting more goals. Martial should be getting more goals. Mkhitaryan, it's been too much of him in fits and starts. What's him finding the net a little bit more often? We're too reliant on Ibrahimovic. And even when he had these games out, you thought, right, other players are going to step up. No one did. And it's just, you can't blame that on luck. I think some people have really got to start sort of looking at themselves and stepping it up a bit.
We'll have a look at goal scorers in a moment. Before that, I'll tell you that Geordie Haig in the comments says the finishing needs to improve. Mourinho is clearly doing the right things. As we dominate, it's the players who need to finish their chances. And Joshua Bronze says they need to do shooting practice for an hour. And then
I bet they do it more than that.
Goodbye, Mike says, I think the problem is that United play doesn't fit their players. I don't think Martial and Rashford are getting enough chances in the system. What do you think of that?
In what system?
Well, I guess the current, what we play like a sort of a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, maybe having them out, I guess he thinks having them out wide is limiting their potential to get in front of goal.
Yeah.
I think the same with Martial a lot. He cuts in a lot more than, I think Rashford sometimes tends to go out wide, but Martial still cuts in and isn't afraid to have a shot. It's just not been happening for him, really.
And he played out wide a fair amount in his first season and was quite effective from there. So, I mean, it could be that, Rashford, he very much prefers playing through the middle and loses a bit of confidence if things aren't happening out wide. But I think they both have played in those positions and have shown themselves to be effective. So I think, for me, it's more about sort of consistency from Mourinho. I mean, like we say, he's not totally to blame, but there are certain things from him that I would like to see a bit more of, like changing up the attack, just like the defence as a unit, but changing everything up front on a regular basis, like Martial in and out, Rashford sort of in and out, Mkhitaryan in and out. I think it just doesn't help with the fluidity up front. And I think that's something I'd like to see a bit more of. I know we've had a lot of games, but just a little bit more consistency in there, I think, might help, and a bit more reassurance. If you say to a player, look, I want you to try things, I want you to get that goal, you're not going to be dropped if you make a mistake. And I think a lot of the players are playing with fear. They're not they don't want to make mistakes, as opposed to they want to try and make things happen. You know, slight subtle difference there. They'd rather play off, give responsibility to someone else, and like mainly Pogba really, and Zlatan. And that's, I think, what's happening. That's why you're not getting a lot from the rest of the team, really.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that as well. I thought that against in the last 2 games, is particularly the one that Zlatan played against Everton. We kind of, I don't know if it's Zlatan or the team, we kind of just seem to want or try and make Zlatan score. And I think we've over the years we've had it a couple of times. When Rude left, people were saying who's going to score the goals. When Ronaldo left, who's going to score the goals. If Zlatan hadn't played this whole season, I do think Rashford and Martial would have got more goals, but they have missed an awful lot of chances as well. And they should both be at least on double figures, to be fair. The chances are.
We've come here very naturally, but it says point 2 on my little list for myself is that we talk about, apart from Zlatan, who else should be scoring more goals. So I'm gonna highlight that conversation is going to be had, even though it's been going for 5 minutes. All right, just because otherwise I have nothing to do here, and it's important I feel valued. Okay, so do you think potentially one issue is that Zlatan is playing centre forward pretty much every week, and the rest of the players, Lingard, Mkhitaryan, Martial, Rashford, Mata, they're all changing around him constantly. We're not maybe seeing people get that huge run. We've seen Mkhitaryan was out of the team until sort of November, then he came in, did very well, and then he was out because he was injured. Mata's been used in the midfield, and then occasionally he'll be outright. Jesse Lingard has come in and filled out holes. Do you think maybe it's because Zlatan is the only real consistent force there?
I definitely think.
Sorry, no, go on. I was just going to say. I mean, I think when you look back, you're right. Zlatan always plays, and he's always, he's always a striker. I think when you look back at, say, for example, going back to when Ryan Giggs used to play, over the course of a season, Ryan Giggs would have a lot of bad games. People forget that. He could have up to sort of 10, 15 games where he didn't really do a lot, but he'd have 10, 15 games where he did a lot. But he always played. He always had that run in the side. You know, he might be dropped for a few of the cup games, like the League Cup or whatever. He plays sort of 35. Whatever league games a season, and I think that helps him. And over the course of the season, you get sort of 8 or 9 goals out of him and the same amount of assists. Well, what we're seeing this season is players like Lingard, players like Rashford, players like Martial. They're coming in, playing 1 or 2 games, then they're not playing the next couple of games, or they're coming on a sub. They're not getting a full 90 minutes, and I think it is upsetting them. I think if you had someone like, say, Marcus Rashford, for example, was playing every league game like Zlatan is, I think we would see a lot more goals from him. Obviously, I think he's not scored for 6 months, and I think we'd have seen him be a lot more productive than he is. And it can't help his confidence, and it can't help his consistency if he's in and out of the team all the time. Not to mention being moved around position. Not to mention, as Joshua was saying earlier, getting subbed as well. That's sort of hanging over you. That if you're not performing by sort of half time, you're going to get subbed off. So yeah, I think if certain players, for me, maybe Martial and Rashford were given a longer run, then we'd definitely see a lot more goals from him.
Okay, Adam, do you agree with that? Because if we look at Chelsea this season, Hazard, Costa and Pedro, that front three never changes. It was sort of the same with Leicester last season, Barcelona, Real Madrid. They're very consistent in their attack. Do you think perhaps we need to have decided by now who those players are going to be? Because actually at the start of the season, Wayne Rooney was in that lineup as well.
Yeah, I think we haven't really had that. I think when you look down the years, when United have had like a main striker or a main man banging in the goals, we've always had like a Giggs or a Scholes or someone around them that's picking up goals as well at the same time. And we've had a number of those players. And we've even had defenders that have got like 5+ goals this season. But we haven't had that this season at all. We haven't shared the goals around. Now, I do think it's partly because like everything is channeled towards Zlatan when we do play. But I do also think it's just a simple case of opportunities as well. A lot of players haven't had them. I think Zlatan's started every Premier League game he's been available for, apart from the ones he's been suspended. He's even started games like Zorya Luhansk at home. Was it Northampton we played away in the cup? He started that, and you're thinking, hey, why is Zlatan playing? And I said this at the start of the season, like Martial, Rashford, we should have been playing those guys as a number 9. We should have been bringing Rashford off for the last 20 minutes of a game when Zlatan's going off and letting him play in that number 9 position, so that when the season progressed and when Zlatan did get suspended or if Zlatan needed a rest. We had players that were up to match speed playing in that number 9 position, and we haven't. We've only got one.
I mean, I think there's an argument. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and try and say Jose should have done this and should have done that in terms of telling him how to manage a team, because I think at the same time he's come in and he doesn't know the squad. When he first starts, he wants to see what they can do, what their ability is, what their attitude is, and we've seen the benefits of that in with a few players, and with some players we've seen a bit of a regression. So I think there is that element of, I can see why he's rotated a little bit, because he wants to see what they're made of. But at the same time, I think now we're at a stage where he should have his best 11, or I certainly think he should. And if it's not working as it hasn't done so far, then I think when you're rotating and it's not working, well, why not try and just be a bit more consistent, give them time to find a bit of match rhythm. And it might not be Rashford who he starts every single game, because he's been getting minutes, but he's not necessarily guaranteed that start. I think there's a slight difference there as well. And I think giving them that consistency to develop that relationship, that might help. But at the moment, it's not working with this in and out rotation. And even though I can see why he did it initially, it doesn't seem to be working. So why not just say, okay, look, this is what I believe my first 11 is. Let's go with it.
Okay. Jay, do you think there's a danger that we're downplaying the importance that Zlatan has on the team? Because if he scores 3 more goals this season, he'll become, I think, only the 11th person in United's history to have scored 30 goals in a campaign, which in a debut season for a 35-year-old is pretty phenomenal.
I mean, I think on paper you look at it and you think, yeah, phenomenal. You're right, that's one word to describe it. But I think if you watch him week in, week out, the problem you've got is, for starters, like Maka was saying, everything is channeled towards him. It's all about get Zlatan the ball, get it up to him. If someone like Martial or Rashford or whatever goes and has a shot, you can see a lot of the time Zlatan's going mad at him. So they're always trying to feed the ball to him. Pogba especially is always looking for him, and he has scored a lot of goals, but he's missed a lot of chances as well. And that's the problem. Is you look at some of these games where it's ended 1-1 or it's ended 0-0 or whatever, and you look at some of the chances he's had, and even the games where he scored, he's the only United player I know who's had a hat-trick and he's played a bad game in Europe. When he scored the hat-trick, I didn't think he played that well, but he managed to get a hat-trick, and that's not like sound crackers, but I just thought he managed to score a game.
Well, it was a penalty, a tap-in, and a deflected free kick.
A free kick, yeah, it was. And, you look at it, you think he didn't play well, but he got 3 goals, and that's madness. But in a lot of the games, he's getting a lot of chances. You go back to the derby where I think he scored then, but he missed a sitter, things like that, where he will get chances and he'll miss them, and he'll score as well. But I just think he could do a little bit more, and I think, we can look at other players and we can say, the likes of Pogba needs to get some more goals, Martial, but everything goes through Zlatan. And for a player of his quality, I actually think he's underperformed a little bit, and I don't know if that's his age or his first season in the Premier or whatever. People might look at the stats and think, oh, you're talking rubbish, the amount of goals he's got. But if you watch those games, he could have had a lot more, and he maybe should have had a lot more.
I think that's fair. Adam, Sunderland.
No. Oh.
What's your team?
I hate these, From when they were Poznaning about like a bunch of crap, to David Moyes, to just, they make me sick, man. I hope they go down this season. Anyway, my team would be, I understand, Sam, I'm top of the league.
You are top of the league with 75 points. John Shin has 72. Dave's got 69, so they're close.
Thanks for not inviting John on this week. Absolute legends, right? David De Gea is in goal for me. Tony V at right back. Left back. I'm going to go for a shocker. Luke Shaw's going to start.
No.
I don't think he will, to be honest, after all that my brain, his body use nonsense. Why is all that about, man, Jose? For God's sake, give him a chance.
That was weird, wasn't it?
It's really weird, that was. My brain, his body. Why are you on about? Was it your brain when he pinged a volley in the corner and forced Williams to handball it? I don't think it was, Jose.
Yeah,
anyway,
terrible.
Bailey and Rowell at centre-half. I want to see Carrick, Herrera and Pogba back together, I think that's key to the team. I think Carrick will give us that protection. Herrera, it was great to have Herrera's energy back on the weekend, because
at right back,
midweek, at right back. What the hell? But the other day when we played with, was it Carrick and Fellaini? It was just like they both just sat there, no one moved from. It was just both moving forwards and backwards together. And I love that Herrera breaks the lines and he's not scared to go mix things up a little bit. Obviously, you're never going to expect that from Carrick and Fellaini, but when we play the ball for them in a midfield too, it is so flat. Carrick, Herrera, Pogba, Mickey, Marshall, and Zlatan. Am I crazy to think we'll go with our strongest 11?
I've no idea. I don't know. But I know you in real life and you're a weird guy. So if that helps. I don't know. Joshy, what are you doing? What's your team? You've got 15 points here, Joshy. You can go past Mohammed, but he's got 19. Get 11, and you'll go past Andy Tate. So that's something to think about.
I mean, in my defence, I'm not on every week, so, you know.
No one wants to hear your defence, Joshy. Although I would like you to start with your defence.
With United's. Well, De Gea in net. I think Tony V will come in. Will come back into the side. Bailly, Rojo, centre backs. I think Blint will come into left back. That whole body mind thing was a bit weird. I think why can't he just say, you know, he came on, he did his best. I needed to give him a bit of guidance, and I'm here for that. I'm his coach, and we'll make sure he gets to his top level. Instead of I kind of had to control him like a PlayStation player. You know, it was a bit weird.
It's his plan for when he retires. Body swap comedies that nobody asked for.
Exactly. I agree with. Adam for the rest of it, I think, actually. Carrick, Herrera, Pogba in midfield, Mkhitaryan, Ibra and Martial up top.
Okay, Jay, what are you doing? You have no points because this is your debut, but you could go past Greg Johnson from Squawker. He's got 4, proving that stats don't get you everywhere. Halves has got 4, and Adam Sweeney has got a measly 6. So I think you could shoot ahead of them.
You get a point for every player you get right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right, okay.
So last week, Paul's team was completely insane, but he just picked the 11 players he most expected to be involved because he was looking for points, not a sensible team. And he had like Valencia in midfield and stuff. It was really weird.
Right. Well, I've gone. This is my predicted team, not the team that I think it should be, by the way, because that's what I was told to send in. David De Gea, Tony V, Rojo, Bailly, and I think Darmian. If Darmian's fit, I think he might come back in at left back because everything says Luke Shaw should start at left back. So I don't expect him to. I think Mourinho, for whatever reason, like you, Macca and Joshua mentioning, seems to have it in for him. And some of the comments he's made are just a bit bizarre. I could understand it when he was giving him a little bit of stick earlier on, but the whole I was controlling thing was a bit odd. I've gone with a midfield 3 of Fellaini, Pogba and Herrera. And a front 3 I think are the same as Joshua, Mkhitaryan, Martial and Zlatan.
Okay, nice. That was quick. In that case, shall we move on to the opposition? Adam, Sunderland, I can tell you, are not allowed to play Adnan Januzaj because he's on loan and therefore can't play.
That's a shame. He normally doesn't do anything.
Adam's very upset.
Oh man,
upset.
you know what? Yeah, because these lot are shit. They haven't won at home in 2017. They've only won 1 game this year, and they're gonna beat us.
They haven't scored in 10 matches, I think. They haven't scored in 10 matches. The last match they scored in was a 3-1 loss at Stoke. Or at home against.
What a time to get a goal.
Yeah, they lost. It's just set up, isn't it, for them to bang in a goal and then we're chasing it for 89 minutes. long
I could see
balls
David
into
Moyes
the box.
shaking Mourinho's hand after the game with the smuggest look on his face. Without realising.
I mean, he won't be that smug because he'll still be rock bottom.
But it doesn't matter to him. He's an idiot like that.
He got fired at 7th. The things he'd have done to get to the lofty heights of 6th. Those were heights David Moyes could not aspire to.
We'll go. Jermaine Defoe, one player they've got.
Yeah, don't rule out John O'Shea.
Yeah, John O'Shea is great, but he's John O'Shea. He's got 1 pass in his locker, which is over the top hook, and that's it.
No, mate, he nutmegged Figo. It's not rule out John O'Shea. Jay, any thoughts on Sunderland?
They've got Darren Gibson, haven't they? Sunderland.
I think they've got Gibson. Yeah.
Yeah, the G-bomb. You got to watch out for him, mate. He's one of the best players I've ever seen at Old Trafford, if I'm honest. Can't believe we sold him. Absolute travesty. He just needed to shoot a bit more often. That was his problem. Didn't have
that great goal at home.
He shot every time he ever got the ball.
I'm gonna stick my neck out and think we'll hammer him. I know what you're saying. It's like you think, oh, it's going to be one of those games, but Moyes is a terrible manager. They're a crap team. we need a response. Like Josh was saying, I think they've not won at home for years. I think they've had one win in 10 games or something. They're already talking about next season in the Championship, how Moyes is still going to be the manager. So I just think there's going to be now's the time for us to go down there, playing away from home. I always think we seem to play a little bit more confidence, a little bit more free-flowing football. I can see us going down there and giving them a good hiding, 4 or 5-0.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, third best team away from home we are.
Yeah, I mean,
there you go.
They're not a good team at all, and this is one of those like where you go, yeah, we should be battering them, but we should be winning, we should be doing this. It's just unfortunate that this whole season it's just ended up in draws, hasn't it? When we've said things like that, so that's why you see look at Adam's face that he's about to start crying. That's why you see that. But actually, in reality, we've got enough, even with the way we're sort of playing, to put these guys away pretty easily.
Yeah, our away form has been a lot
pretty
better.
much every comment is going to be a draw, 1-1 or 0-0.
Now our away form has been a lot. I think we've won 4 out of our last 5 away games, so there's some confidence.
There's no better teams to players. There's no better.
The last time we played these,
guys,
Mkhitaryan scorpion kick.
Guys, the year is 2017, and this is actual life for Manchester United right now. Barry has commented, "We should murder them, but we miss chances and might win 1-0. Might." He added might again, just because he didn't want to be too confident that we won't get a 0-0 at Sunderland.
Didn't want to get ripped after.
That is the world we now live in.
They haven't scored in 10 games, so you know they're going to score. So just put that in there, all right? They're going to score just because that's just what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're going to win 2-1, I think.
Henry doesn't want you to forget that they've got Paddy McNair.
But he's injured.
He's out. He's injured, yeah.
Oh, well, there you are then. And they've got a Nietzsche B, says Kaito.
Who cares?
Well, he's the exact kind of player that's going to score against.
He's like their second top scorer on 2 goals or something, which says it all. I think there's only him and Defoe who hit double figures. Oh, and Van Aanholt who's left. He's not double figures. Not double figures, sorry. Who scored more than 1 goal. Sorry, more than 1 goal, yeah.
That clip's going to go viral when they all score against us on Sunday.
It's not a confident...
They're probably sat there thinking, great, we've got United this weekend. Point. Finally.
It's not a confident message board. If they score, it just means it'll end 1-1. 100% draw. I predict 0-0 or 1-1. We're going to draw 0-0. Moyes' revenge. That sounds like a terrible pirate's boat, doesn't it? Moyes' revenge. Right, we might as well.
It does tell you about how frustrated the fan base is. I mean, like Jay said, even in the stadium, you can feel it when you watch it on TV and when you're at the stadium as well. It is frustrating when you see it. It's not like, I mean, you start off okay and then it sort of goes flat. And that's probably why you were saying, away fans, they don't just sort of, they get hammered and they sort of go in and do what they do and they don't really care about the football, do they?
But
that's why they continue.
Psychologically, it's kind of, as you mentioned earlier, it's almost exactly the same as the late winners, wasn't it? Like the atmosphere in the stadium would anticipate, now we're going to get it, and so would the players. Whereas now we go 1-0 down or it's 0-0, and the dread creeps in as opposed to the confidence. And it's exactly the same. It's just we now have this endless, we get draws, we don't score, or we might get one at the last minute if we are losing, as opposed to we'll win it. We'll salvage it if we can. It's not good. Anyway, Adam, what do you think the score will be?
4-1.
Sunderland?
United.
Wait. Joshy?
I think, they're just not a good team. I think we're going to beat them.
Go on.
We're going to batter them.
You can do it, son.
No, I don't mean us. I really think Sunderland are one of the poorest teams I've seen in a long, long time, aside from us. But, 3-0.
Okay. Jay?
I think we'll hammer him. Honestly, I know it sounds crackers. I think this could be a 5-0. That's what I'm going to stick my neck out and say that. And I'll get dog's abuse when we draw. But, I'm going to go for it. I'm
going to be more realistic because having watched us all season, we might win 1-0. So I'm going with Barry. 1-0. Might win 1-0. All right, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody else, thank you for watching. Give the video a little like if you like it. Get in the comments because we'll be looking for those later. And enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the game if you can because we might win.